A new piece of video may have just changed the direction of the Nancy Guthrie abduction case. Overnight, footage began circulating showing a man in a back alley roughly 5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home on the same night she was taken. The timing matters, the distance matters, and perhaps most importantly, what this man is carrying may matter most of all. The video reportedly captures a bald man wearing a gray jacket and blue pants. He is carrying not one, but 2 backpacks, one on his back and another in his hand. He appears to be focused on something near a gate or fence, possibly attempting to lift or maneuver the second bag. The action is unclear. What is clear is that this occurs in the early morning hours of February 1st, the same overnight window during which Nancy was abducted. Investigators, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, are said to be reviewing the footage. The question now dominating discussion is simple. Is this the same individual seen at Nancy's home, or is this an extraordinary coincidence? Let's break down why this video is so significant. First, proximity. 5 miles is not far in suburban America. For someone committing a crime in the early morning hours, 5 miles represents a short drive, perhaps 10 minutes depending on traffic and road conditions. It is close enough to suggest relevance, yet far enough to raise questions. Was this man returning from the scene, heading toward it, or operating from a base of familiarity within the area? Second, timing. The reported window aligns almost perfectly with the night of the abduction. That alignment alone raises the stakes. Statistically speaking, the odds of 2 unrelated individuals prowling residential areas in the middle of the night, both wearing backpacks filled to capacity, within 5 miles of one another during the exact hours of a violent crime, those odds are extremely low. Not impossible, but highly improbable. And that brings us to the third point, the backpacks. Backpacks are not inherently suspicious, but context changes everything. In the previously released footage from Nancy Guthrie's home, the suspect was also seen wearing a backpack, one that appeared full, structured, and purposeful. In criminal investigations, what someone carries often tells you more than what they say. Tools, restraints, gloves, flashlights, extra clothing, these items are often transported in compact, portable kits. In this new video, the man is not carrying 1 bag, but 2, one strapped to his back, another held in his hand. That detail matters. 2 bags suggest planning. 2 bags suggest equipment separation, possibly tools in one, other materials in another. It is consistent with what criminal profilers sometimes describe as an operational kit. But physical appearance also becomes part of the evaluation. Observers have noted that the man in the alley appears somewhat slimmer than the suspect seen at Nancy's residence. His legs look thinner, his build appears slightly narrower. Yet clothing can distort perception. Lighting can alter silhouette. Camera angles can exaggerate or minimize body shape. A looser pair of pants can make someone appear different from tighter jeans under a porch light. Another detail drawing attention is the head shape. Both individuals appear to have a rounded head with minimal visible hair. In the porch footage from Nancy's home, the suspect's head appeared smooth, either closely shaved or bald. In the alley video, the man also appears bald. That similarity is not conclusive, but it is notable. Facial hair is another point of comparison. The alley footage suggests possible facial hair concentrated toward the front of the face. In earlier footage from Nancy's property, facial details were obscured by a mask and darkness, making comparison difficult. However, investigators with advanced enhancement tools may be able to clarify these distinctions far more accurately than public viewers. Then there is behavior. The man in the alley appears deliberate. He does not wander aimlessly. He focuses on something specific near the gate. He attempts to maneuver the second bag in a controlled manner. When it does not appear to work, he retrieves it and leaves the way he came. That suggests intention. That suggests purpose. Criminal behavior often follows a pattern. It involves preparation, execution, and exit. If this man is unrelated to the abduction, his behavior still demands explanation. Why operate in a residential alley in the middle at night with 2 heavily packed backpacks? If he is simply a local resident or someone engaged in innocent activity, identification should quickly resolve that question. But if he is connected, directly or indirectly, then this video may represent a critical piece of the puzzle. Investigators will likely analyze several key factors: gait analysis, comparing walking style between the 2 videos, body proportion measurement, clothing fiber and color enhancement, timestamp verification, vehicle activity within that radius, digital camera data from surrounding homes. The presence of 2 backpacks may also intersect with a key investigative question: was there more than one person involved? While no official statement confirms multiple suspects, logistics in abduction cases sometimes involve a driver and an entry suspect. That possibility remains hypothetical, but not unreasonable. At the center of all this is one undeniable reality: coincidence becomes harder to accept as variables align. Same night, same geographic radius, similar clothing, backpack configuration, early morning hours. Each individual element could be dismissed. Together, they form a pattern that investigators cannot ignore. At this stage, caution remains essential. Public speculation can easily outpace evidence, yet serious analysis does not mean jumping to conclusions. It means asking disciplined questions. Is this the same individual? Is this a partner? Or is this an unrelated presence that simply appears suspicious because of timing? The Federal Bureau of Investigation has access to tools far beyond public interpretation. Facial recognition, color correction, motion mapping, and geospatial analysis can narrow possibilities quickly. If the man in the alley is known to local law enforcement, identification may happen rapidly. If he is unknown, then investigators have a new priority. In criminal investigations, breakthroughs often come from small overlooked moments: a single frame of video, a subtle movement, a bag placed where it should not be. This new video may be one of those moments. What remains clear is that the coincidence question is now front and center, and in cases involving violent crime, coincidence is often the first thing investigators work to eliminate.
If the new alley video raises the coincidence question, the timeline raises something even more serious: clarity. In any abduction case, time is not just important, it is everything. Minutes matter. Sequences matter. The difference between 1:47 a.m. and 2:12 a.m. can change an entire investigative theory. According to reporting, one of the exterior cameras at Nancy Guthrie's home went offline at approximately 1:47 a.m. Later, at 2:12 a.m., another image was reportedly detected, possibly from a different camera. That 25-minute window has become a focal point. Let's break down why. When a security camera goes offline unexpectedly in the middle of the night, investigators immediately consider 2 possibilities: technical malfunction, intentional interference. Modern systems like those from Ring and Nest log timestamps, signal disruptions, and device connectivity changes. Those digital breadcrumbs are critical. They show not only when something stopped recording, but sometimes why. If the doorbell camera went offline at 1:47 a.m., investigators will want to know: was power cut? Was Wi-Fi disrupted? Was the camera physically obstructed? Was the device manually disabled? Each answer carries very different implications. Then comes the 2:12 a.m. image detection. If another camera, perhaps positioned at the back of the house, recorded a person or motion at 2:12, that suggests the suspect was still on or near the property at that time. That extends the potential activity window. Here's where analytical thinking matters. If 1:47 a.m. marks the initial disruption and 2:12 a.m. marks confirmed visual presence, that means the suspect may have remained in or around the residence for at least 25 minutes. That is not impulsive behavior. That suggests control. That suggests a plan. Abductions that occur quickly, forced entry, rapid removal, usually happen within a tight window. Lingering indicates something else. It may indicate search behavior. It may indicate staging. Or it may indicate difficulty in gaining entry. One theory raised in discussion is recon versus post-crime activity. Was the suspect approaching the property to scout it? Or was the suspect returning briefly after the abduction to ensure nothing was left behind? Both scenarios are plausible. Pre-offense recon is common in targeted crimes. A suspect may approach, assess lighting, confirm entry points, disable cameras, then withdraw briefly before returning fully equipped. If the footage showing the suspect without a backpack occurred before the crime, that could represent a scouting run. On the other hand, post-offense recon behavior is not unheard of either. Some offenders reapproach a scene to retrieve tools, confirm evidence was not left behind, or ensure cameras are fully disabled. That behavior is riskier, but it happens. This is where forensic sequencing becomes essential. Investigators from the Federal Bureau of Investigation will likely reconstruct the night in layered fashion. Digital timestamps from all connected cameras, router logs and network interruptions, phone tower pings in the area, vehicle plate readers within a 5-mile radius, neighborhood surveillance cross-referencing. When multiple data streams are aligned, the timeline becomes clearer. Another key issue raised in discussion is forced entry. Reports have suggested that the rear door may have been compromised and left open. If true, that adds structure to the sequence. Consider this possible order of events. Suspect approaches front porch, observes camera, attempts to obscure or disable device, moves to rear of property, gains entry through weaker access point. If the back door was forced, that suggests either lack of a key or unwillingness to risk using one. That detail matters because it speaks to familiarity. A suspect with a key suggests personal connection. Forced entry suggests either opportunistic targeting or incomplete access. The backpacks again intersect here. If the suspect carried tools, pry bars, restraints, flashlights, that supports forced entry theory. If the suspect carried extra clothing or disguise materials, that suggests anticipation of prolonged contact inside the residence. And then there is the reported visual of a possible object in the suspect's pocket, possibly consistent with a firearm. While public observers cannot confirm that, trained forensic analysts can examine pocket weight distribution, swing patterns during walking, and fabric stress points frame by frame. Every pixel becomes evidence. But here is the larger issue: transparency versus operational security. Law enforcement often withholds timeline details deliberately, not to confuse the public, but to protect investigative leverage. Specific timestamps can serve as a litmus test during suspect interviews. If someone claims they were elsewhere at 2 a.m., but investigators know activity occurred at 2:12 a.m., that discrepancy becomes powerful. So, while public confusion about 1:47 and 2:12 may seem frustrating, it may also indicate that investigators are intentionally controlling information flow. For the American audience watching this unfold, the key concern is competence and clarity. Are authorities piecing this together methodically? Are digital systems being fully analyzed? Is every camera within a 5-mile radius being reviewed? The answer is almost certainly yes. Federal-level investigations bring technical resources that go far beyond standard municipal tools. Image enhancement, motion mapping, environmental lighting reconstruction, these processes can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. The new alley video will be synchronized with the home footage. Walking cadence will be measured, shoulder width ratios compared, arm swing symmetry analyzed. Even the way someone carries weight in a backpack can become part of identification. And then comes the vehicle question. If the suspect moved 5 miles away after the abduction, transportation becomes central. Did any cameras capture a vehicle leaving the Guthrie neighborhood around 2:15 a.m.? Were there license plate readers triggered? Did traffic cameras record a suspicious pattern? Every timeline creates movement, and every movement leaves digital traces. Ultimately, the 1:47 to 2:12 gap is not just a technical issue, it is a narrative anchor. It defines how long the suspect was present, how organized the suspect may have been, and whether the crime unfolded rapidly or methodically. The clearer that sequence becomes, the narrower the suspect pool becomes. Segment 3 will examine the broader implications, whether this points to a single organized offender or possible accomplices, and what this case signals about planning, preparation, and community safety moving forward.
As the investigation progresses, the critical question shifts. Was there more than one person involved in Nancy Guthrie's abduction? The new alley footage and the previously released porch video raise questions about whether this was a solo operation or a coordinated effort. For the American audience, especially those concerned about suburban safety, understanding this distinction is essential. Let's start with the logistics. The suspect seen in the alley carried 2 backpacks, each likely containing different materials: tools, flashlights, restraints, perhaps even items to disguise identity. In abduction cases, carrying multiple bags can suggest preparation beyond what a single person might manage efficiently. Could there have been a driver or an accomplice responsible for watching the victim while the primary suspect entered the home? This remains hypothetical, but law enforcement cannot dismiss it. Behavioral experts often note that organized offenders exhibit what is called a modus operandi, a structured sequence of actions designed to minimize risk and maximize control. In this case, that could include pre-crime surveillance or recon of the property, camera management, disabling or obscuring security devices, selection of access points, front porch attempt followed by rear door entry, transport planning, backpacks containing essential equipment, exit strategy, including a possible getaway driver. Each of these steps aligns with patterns often seen in methodical criminal operations. The key takeaway for the public is that this was not a random act of opportunity. Whether one or two individuals executed it, the planning appears deliberate. Then there's the question of forced entry. Evidence suggests that the rear door was compromised and left open. This detail alone is telling. Either the suspect lacked keys or chose not to use them, preferring a method that would not risk leaving identifiable fingerprints on locks or handles. For investigators, understanding the point of entry is critical. It informs the search for forensic evidence, the reconstruction of the timeline, and even the identification of potential accomplices who may have assisted in preparation or escape. Community safety concerns are naturally heightened when organized offenders are involved. Law-abiding residents often assume that violent crimes like this are isolated, but the presence of a methodical, prepared individual, potentially with a partner, introduces uncertainty into what might otherwise feel like safe, predictable neighborhoods. That's why investigators emphasize public vigilance. Residents should report unusual activity, provide camera footage, and remain alert to anomalies. Facial recognition technology is now a central tool. Unlike previous decades where investigations relied primarily on eyewitness accounts, modern law enforcement can analyze minute details from multiple camera angles. Subtle cues like gait, posture, the way someone carries weight, or even the slight tilt of a head can confirm or eliminate suspects with high accuracy. In this case, investigators are likely cross-referencing the alley footage with prior sightings, motion patterns, and known associates of potential suspects. But even with advanced tools, human behavior analysis remains key. The man seen in the alley demonstrates focus, methodical handling of the backpacks, and situational awareness. Observers noted that he did not wander aimlessly. Every movement appeared deliberate. That aligns with what profilers identify as a purpose-driven offender, someone who plans each step in advance rather than improvising. Additionally, questions about whether post-crime activity occur remain unresolved. Was the suspect seen returning briefly to the property to ensure nothing was left behind? Did an accomplice monitor the victim while the primary suspect entered the entry? These are subtle details, but they shape the broader narrative of risk, planning, and offender skill. For the American public, the lesson is not just in the crime itself, but in the systems in place to prevent and respond. Cameras, neighborhood watch apps, quick law enforcement response, these all matter. The fact that footage surfaced from the Ring or Nest platforms demonstrates how community-level technology can provide critical evidence, yet it also raises awareness that criminals may adapt their strategies in response to surveillance. Finally, the case underscores the importance of disciplined investigative methodology. Authorities are triangulating evidence from multiple sources: exterior and interior camera footage, digital device logs, vehicle movement tracking, physical evidence from points of entry. They are combining traditional law enforcement methods with modern technology to reconstruct the night's events as accurately as possible. For viewers, the takeaway is clear. This is a serious, highly organized event, and law enforcement is applying every available tool to resolve it. While public speculation is inevitable, analysts and authorities emphasize measured interpretation. Each detail, from backpacks to camera timestamps, contributes to building a clear picture. The goal is identification, apprehension, and ensuring that the individual or individuals responsible cannot strike again. As the investigation unfolds, Americans can expect updates on both progress and findings, including the identification of the alley suspect, any potential accomplices, and confirmation of entry points. Each of these updates will not only advance the case, but also inform communities about practical safety measures, emphasizing vigilance, preparedness, and the critical role of technology and cooperation in preventing future incidents. This concludes Segment 3, providing a comprehensive look at possible accomplices, the planning involved, and what the implications are for safety and investigative success. Combined with the new alley footage and timeline analysis, it paints a picture of a carefully orchestrated crime and the ongoing effort by federal and local authorities to bring clarity, accountability, and resolution.